Hello, everybody. This is Michael Ensor with Advertising Report Card, and today we are going to do a quick walkthrough of Google Analytics, and we're going to be using a great baby as the report card to give a little insight into how to use Google Analytics. There's a million different ways to look at data, and analytics has pretty much every way you could imagine. But sometimes not all the information is as relevant as you might need it to be in order to make business decisions. So this video is going to be a quick walkthrough of things to look at. Initially, you're going to come through on the home page when you first log in, and there'll be different pieces of information about your performance overall for your location based off of where you're looking. You'll see different interfaces. This is for Google Analytics Universal. Google Analytics 4 is what the new norm is going to be for reporting. So highly recommend, first of all, getting that set up for Google Analytics. Making sure that that is set up and that data is tracking there properly is very important. So as you can see here, we have a lot of different shortcuts to different types of reviews as well. So anything that you want to see more information on, you can quickly click on these reports, and they'll open up more information regarding what you see on these little snapshots. A great one as an example for this would be the e-commerce report. Get directly to where your products are selling and different data based off of the products that you're selling. So that is the home tab, and it helps you get around quickly. The next thing I was going to recommend in general, and this is something that I have my own team do internally, is create dashboards. Not everybody has to have the same dashboard. Some information is more important than others, and you can always change it based off of your needs. But the main thing is that there are already reporting dashboards available that are built on Google Data Studio that Analytics does for your account automatically. So in addition to the home page and having some reports that it goes to, an easy way to look at reporting for your website and its performance, I do recommend using dashboards because you can modify them and edit them as needed to have the information that you need. Like if you just want to focus on one specific thing, or if you want to focus on one specific channel of performance, for instance, not just all of your e-commerce or all of your different types of traffic that you're trying to track and engagement, but maybe specific types. So these dashboards are very powerful, helps you look at information very well. This is an example of acquisitions where you are getting your current traffic. And as you can see here out of the gate, the main thing that I see that needs to get fixed is the conversions. You need to have conversions set up. Luckily with e-commerce, conversion setup is something that can be done pretty quickly and easily. So getting not just conversions for sales and tracking the actual value of the sales, but conversions for every event that happens on the store. And that would include things like going to a product page, adding a product page to the shopping cart, and getting that other type of data. Real time is a report that you can use to look at what's happening in real time on your site. I think it's a lot better in general to look at the overall time period so that you're not looking at, a couple pieces of data, but really looking at the overall performance of the site. So I usually look at 30-day intervals, and if I'm tracking some type of marketing effort, I'll always compare to the 30 days prior, and then also from the start of the marketing to the finish. So as you can see here, just looking at the comparison overall audience-wise, you're getting a lot of new users, which is great. Month over month, you're doing a lot better. So there is more traffic coming in. There are more page views being viewed, which means that people are going to see different types of products. What's interesting about this page view list, along with the new users list, is if there was some additional pages added to the site, or maybe some new products, maybe that helps with the page view. We're going to find out about these two spikes in traffic here shortly. As you can see here, we have multiple pages viewed, and we want to dive deeper into that as well. Bounce rate increasing, average session duration decreasing. Sometimes you can see this in a marketing campaign. We have two big humps of traffic here, so let's dive deeper into that. So lifetime value, this is something that is definitely valuable for e-commerce in general. The main thing is that you're going to want to make sure the revenue is tracked properly. So you can always see this as far as your sources go and your audience as well, as what the value is going to be per the users that are going to be coming back. Tracking this in analytics isn't always as easy as tracking it in Shopify, but understanding that it's here, and that's why it's here, is for a good reason. And I skipped a tab, but that's for active users. Not really much of a useful report, to be honest. So cohort analysis, you can see me clicking on the left side here. If you ever want to see where I'm at, you can just take a quick look and pause and see what button I have highlighted here on the left. So essentially, this has what user retention is happening. One thing that is showing here, which is interesting, is that you do have some users coming back. Main thing that you're going to want to look at here is excluding your own traffic to make this report pure, and that's the same for any Google Analytics. And if you go to your own website to work on it, sometimes it picks up your traffic. But in addition to that, when you turn remarketing on, this should be an interesting report to watch. Reason being is that you'll see the trend come back. It looks like also in the settings, which you can see in the admin, that there's some data linking settings that are incomplete. I don't have full access to all the settings because I'm just read-only, but there's a whole list of things here that might need to be better optimized in order to capture all the data that comes with these reports. For instance, in-page analytics use enhanced lead contribution could be turned on. Making these two on are good. I'm not quite sure why. I would have to look at all the settings. But there are some pieces of data that are missing from the report, as you can see here. User Explorer is also a pretty cool tool, but the only thing is it is done per IP address or the client ID. There are ways to match this data up in different reports, but in general, this isn't going to be super helpful as serial codes. One thing that you can do with specific optimization is track people by their actual account. So if you have people signing up for your accounts, you can track accounts by name based off of the interactions that they have. So continuing down through audience, we have the demographic overview. And this is where we're going to start diving deeper into what this data means and how you can use it. As you can see here, it looks like the tracking hasn't been set up for the demographics. This is data that we could have used that we can't use right now for optimizing any type of campaigns. Take a quick deeper look into the other sections, and it looks like we don't have interest set up either, which is really important if you want to do marketing and look at what people on what markets they're in, because you can use that data for targeting audiences. Let's check geo. We should have some data here, which is good. Mostly English in Canada. Nothing too groundbreaking in the language barrier. Location. So interesting Venezuela traffic. It does look like you had a sale in Canada. Congratulations, international. It's always a good thing to have, but making sure that the shipping is worth it is also something to take into consideration. Popping over into the United States, what we can see here is an interesting aspect of what we're looking at. It looks like you have a good spread across the different states. Main thing that stands out is that it looks like you have some states with a lot of transactions this month, Texas and Michigan, if you can see here. See the lift, and then you have some decreases, but mostly increases in these specific cities, which is awesome. You have it across the board, it looks like. See if there's any ones that took any big losses. No huge gaps on the downside. So the main thing about the location is you would want to look at this when running the campaign, because you can actually see if you're targeting specific cities or states, what locations are the ones that are producing the most. And you can also click deeper into these states and pick cities that are producing. So as you can see here, it looks like one's not set. Austin has 2. And then it looks like it's pretty well spread across Texas too. So this is interesting as well. So the entire state of Texas is definitely a good target in general to go after. Have a 20% month-over-month revenue increase, which is not a small amount. And you have a lot of new traffic, and the majority of your traffic is organic right now. So this is really good. This is really good. I would definitely be picking the best locations to start your marketing campaign. I would not do a broad look into any country. I'll always go into regions, and that's why Google Analytics is super useful. You're able to actually use this data to figure out where you want to cherry pick traffic from versus just cast a really wide net. So the behavior on new versus returning is also included in Shopify. Good data to keep in mind, though, especially if you roll out different things like email marketing. One note that had been made is that anybody's an existing customer, it's like you've already marketed to them enough. You don't want to be annoying. Well, that is a really good point when it comes to remarketing. Is you don't want to be so frequent or so invasive that people want to unsubscribe from your list or unfollow you. But having an ongoing plan of new visitor and returning visitor revenue and making sure that you're tracking that is very important. Because as you can see here, the returning visitor revenue, both months, was higher than the actual new visitor revenue, which again, new traffic, just going to build the returning visitor revenue stat up even more as we get new sales. So new traffic, of course, but it's also important to keep in mind the remarketing strategies that you're doing and looking at making sure that you're tracking this as a KPI. If you have a loss of returning visitor sales, then maybe you need to look at your upsells and cross sells when somebody checks out. Frequency and recency. So this is another report that just kind of gives one data point in general when it comes to the month over month, because we're tracking that in the compare. As far as the sessions go, it's not really super helpful. And then the engagement is another just stat session duration bucket. There's things that you can do with these different reports, but we're going to continue to go through the ones that matter the most. So for behavior in general, new versus returning is helpful, but geo, big help when it comes to looking for where to target, but interest in demographics are the audiences that you would be targeting. And then technology, that's getting mining a little deep as far as what technology people are using and how you want to market to them. Like if they're on a Chrome browser versus Internet Explorer, it's like, I don't know how deep level marketing we'll be getting for a great baby, but it's not really necessary out of the gate. Over optimizing something doesn't always necessarily help. A big thing I wanted to point out here as well is that we have a great increase mobile transactions, increase across the board for devices, but this is a great number. Mobile is dominating the actual revenue now. So making sure that you're optimizing the site for mobile experience and keeping an eye on that very closely is very important. The next thing I was going to say as well is when you do your campaigns, it might be worth it to optimize one for mobile and then optimize one for desktop, because while desktop traffic might be less and mobile might be more because of shopping in general, the conversion rate is higher on desktop. So in a natural situation with desktop, you'd want to try to push desktop specific traffic because of the conversion rate. Most people are bidding up on mobile as well. So bidding on desktop would be countering what other people are doing as well. Big thing here to notice is it looks very iPhone centric website. We have our first Android phone coming in at 9th place with 10 total visits in 60 days. So I don't think you have to worry about optimizing for multiple devices, but just make sure that the website looks beautiful on all the iPhones. Cross device shows you how people are using their, well, can't go on anyways. But basically it shows you between like their radio, their phone, their TV, how people are perceiving. If you're not doing multi-channel, it's really not as important. And then user flows, you can skip these other two. This is also a really fun report. The reason being is because it gives you like a visualization of what people are doing and where they go and month over month, like what they did on these different pages. There's a lot of information you can glean from this, making sure that you can figure out why people might be dropping off of certain pages and things of that nature. But it's a really cool report if you're really interested to see how traffic has went through your website. You can also change the sources. Like right now, for whatever reason, it's set on country. Let's see if we can do cities. I would rather do states, but let's just do cities because it's here. I believe Texas should show up top. Oh, not set. A lot of people are blocking tracking, which is normal. See that number forever going up across the board, but you can see here like what people looked for when they went to New York. You can actually filter this just by the city and see how people from New York went through your products versus maybe somebody from Atlanta, which are two very different areas. But user flow is a cool report, and you can manipulate the data here as well. So like, let's say acquired people from a specific source. You have Google, Linktree, which is Instagram typically on the bio, Facebook, And, these are also really interesting ways to track progress as far as people who made it all the way through to the checkout. Yeah, so that's the user flow. Now it's moving into acquisition. Acquisition overview is a great way to look at where you're getting all your traffic in general. You can also filter this. Best thing to do immediately though is to hop into all traffic and look at channels just so you can get a deeper view on a line item. So like direct, referral, social, and you can see the straight stats and dates. Main thing too on the conversions is there's all goals. This is e-commerce, so thankfully it looks like we have some goals set up tracking. So making sure that this is audited and that these numbers match Shopify is definitely something I always recommend shop owners have, because if there's anything missing from these numbers compared to Shopify, then there might be a tracking issue or we're missing sales or over counting. So keep an eye on that. Main thing on the direct traffic is looks like the transactions are repeat month over month, which is very interesting. Reason being is that it also looks like the traffic month over month has increased a lot as well. So understanding the direct traffic is something that I probably want to look a little deeper into. So it looks like people are going directly to these pages, and understanding how that is happening, whether it's ranking organically or other instances like someone bookmarks something, understanding how people are getting that direct traffic is important. Social sometimes gets wrapped into referral. So let's click on the referral and check and see if any social channels did. No, Linktree, again, number one, looks like the Instagram bio is definitely pushing some super great traffic. For whatever reason, looks like there's a huge fall off on the conversion rate and the transactions, which really it's just went from 4 to 1. That's not too crazy. Something to maybe keep an eye on. And then Portal Afterpay is just part of the payment checkout process. It just tracks traffic in there. I am not sure as a person what Cohort is. Looks like it's a newspaper. So it looks like potentially a backlink about your store or a newspaper article about your store resulted in a purchase of no small amount. That's interesting. I don't know if this is accurate or not, because one product for $256 seems like expensive one product, but I'm not sure. Looks like Coupon Seeker drove you some sales recently. Might be something to discuss as far as strategy goes, how much you're paying them, and then how that whole thing works. And in general, if you wanted to just sort by transactions to find out what referral sources you're transacting with, it's easy to just sort that way as well. So going back into channels, 1 second. Going into social next, what we will find is all your different social channels and its referrals. Again, sometimes this can go through referred traffic, but mostly it is categorized here, especially if tracking is set up properly. Looks like Facebook had some decent sales, Instagram not as much. Sort by transactions, and you can see that here as well. The not set, I'm not sure about. People blocking traffic in general. Overall, revenue up month over month. Definitely need to build the revenue channel for social. Reason being is that with the acquisition on the channels, 1 second, let's see if I can back up real quick. Guess not. Silly cookies, channels. Okay. So you have organic search as well. As you can see here, organic is definitely killing it on the revenue side. So with PPC, you're going to get some more sales as well. I'm not saying you're going to get as many sales as you're getting organically right now. We'd have to look at the search terms, which is also something I'm going to show you. But the social channel should absolutely be, I would say, at least half of where you are at with organic, if not 25%, same with PPC. Organic is when people are typically going to be searching your name or exactly what you offer. So you're going to have a higher conversion rate typically. But we have the ability to scale this. So we absolutely should. And you can see here the conversion rate on the organic, 10%. So finding out organically what the terms are that people are searching. Looks like tracking is not set up properly. So we can't see the search terms. Unfortunate, but No, I was lost. Google organic next to direct, which is either blocked traffic from. It's really interesting to see Linktree up here above organic. It looks like the Linktree being used. I'm wondering if it's just from your Instagram bio or if you have this Linktree being used in multiple placements. But driving more traffic than organic, if that's just from your Instagram or from your social media links, then there's a huge opportunity on social ads, as big or bigger than PPC if that's the traffic sources. Just looking at that from like insight status, the traffic that you're driving without running ads. This should be like a good, interesting comparison. Google Ads, self-explanatory. When you have ads set up, it has reporting. I use Google Ads reporting specifically. I don't rely on Google Analytics to do my ad reporting because it's surface level. Search Console doesn't look to be set up yet in the account. This is huge for tracking your organic growth, especially looking at queries for the keywords. We could use that big time for PPC, and since it's not set up, you don't have that historically. This should be set up immediately. This is a huge priority. Social. Getting this set up as well to sync a little bit better and make sure that you can grab audiences from your social traffic to remarket to is important. Creating social goals and just optimizing this area, because these are the neglected pieces of Google Analytics. Usually when people set this up, it's like, I got enough data, I don't know what to do with the rest of it. But in reality, you definitely want to make sure that you optimize these sections when you build out new properties, because they hold value and you can use them as Google evolves. On Google Universal, they're not phasing it out entirely yet. Still build out both on all sides if you can. And then we have campaigns. So this tries to track everything that it can as far as traffic goes. This looks like a email, affiliates and email. So that's how Google's tracking it. Looks like you got a sale from it too, congrats. So this looks like this program started on the 7th as well. Maybe it's just an e-blast. This looks like the typical pattern of an e-blast, not sure. More insight's always effective. And then next but not least, behavior. I'm not going to spend too much time here because it's pretty straightforward, but the main thing here is events. You're going to want to see the events, and you're going to want to look at this closely because these are metrics that are very important. Month over month, you had way more people look at the page views for cart. What's really important here as well is the value, making sure that you can track what value is associated with each action. It does not look like it's going to give us the data point for cart specifically on this. 1 second. Come on, Google. As you can see here, the cart in general, with the amount of views that it had, increased month over month or decreased. That's going to have a huge impact on, of course, your overall funnel. But the thing you want to keep an eye on here is not just what's in the cart, but what's added to the cart and what is going up or down in conjunction with the advertising that you're doing. If you just advertise blatantly for everything, you can see an overall small lift. But if you are focusing on specific products like a swaddle blanket, you should be able to track that specifically and see improvement. Behavior flow, similar to what I had shown in the other section. Site content. This is a good way of looking at the individual pages and what the events are that happen on the pages. Again, tracking specific types of products is important, but also looking at anomalies. So for instance, let's say there was a massive shortage of people going to a specific page. You have dynamic links being created with traffic, which is creating a lot of pages. So we're not going to be able to look at that. There's ways of filtering this data out. Like that would probably be in itself like a little bit of a guide. But the main thing is, let me get rid of this right now. Well, I'm trying to get rid of this filter. Sometimes you just have to hit back a few times. Main thing is figuring out what events are happening on your highest traffic pages. One thing you can do, I believe, I'm trying to figure out a way to filter out the bad links. Main thing I'm looking for is any major percentage drop on any of the individual pages and what that might be about. Another thing too, which is interesting, is like any numbers that are over like 10, 20% on these meaningful actions, like time on page, unique pages, entrances, bounce rate, things of that nature. If you see anything swing on this section of a page, it's a really good idea, especially if you're working on a specific product or a specific collection. The collection pages as well, like if you're missing inventory or you're adding inventory and these numbers are swaying greatly, like what you're adding or what's been removed or how things are laid out are affecting the experience. And to kind of not go through the same thing again for these 3 different items, this is essentially the all pages reports broken into different pieces, like the content drill down, showing you what happens when someone goes to collections. Once they go to collections, what collection do they go to? You can actually take a look at each collection, and then again, look at the different stats behind them. And then landing pages is the same as all pages. Site speed, good thing to keep an eye on. It does impact your ranking. If you see any anomalies, like for instance, it looks like there was an issue. Something weird. Keep an eye on anything that would be like long-term or considered problematic. It looks like this is pretty average. And it looks like things have gotten better. So good things to keep an eye on though. It's like Firefox is definitely having some issues now. You can see here like what the actual browser is. It's causing the load speed issues. Looks like Firefox is the #1 problem, but you're not getting a lot of traffic from that browser, and Chrome has no issues, so you should be looking good here. Site search is something I always recommend e-commerce stores have set up because it gives you good insight into how people are searching for products on your search bar of your store. When people can't find something, they go to search, and if you look at those searches from the actual site search, it'll give you ideas on how to update your menu navigation or add different cues or different keywords onto your site so that people can more easily find what you're looking for, but then also address the fact that this person did not find while browsing through the site what they're looking for, so they had to resort to search. Most people will try to navigate and then search thereafter. Search is a second thing that people take as far as an action goes because they weren't able to find what they're looking for. So keep that in mind as well. And then also the pages that show up in search results for terms. Events is very much like goals, but more important now than ever because events are becoming the standard for all platforms to track. Conversions and goals and all of that is all subjective. What people are tracking at the end of the day, whether it's a phone call or an add to cart or somebody showing up in person, those are all events. So events in the old Google Analytics isn't standard. In the new one, it's almost implemented automatically in some ways. I would definitely look at how to check and make sure that this is optimized and being used as well, because it helps you track what events are taking place. It does look like what we are looking for on the stats are going to be tracked properly in events. This is something that Shopify integration does make easier. So definitely keep. This is probably your #1 tab that you're going to want to look at just for general overall action taken on the site. The categories aren't labeled properly, so we're not going to be able to see something on the top events, but the pages, you'll be able to see where all the events are taking place. So to speak again on goals in general, these are good to have. Events are really where things are moving. Looks like I'm not able to look at the goals because of my permission level. But one thing that's cool about goals is that there's a reverse goal path report. So if somebody creates a purchase goal when they make a purchase, you can actually look at that individual purchase and track it all the way back to where it came from, which is something that's not as easily doable with the events. So that's something to keep in mind. E-commerce for the e-commerce store. So as you can see here, this is the overview for the e-com report. There's a lot of things to keep an eye on, but your major metrics, similar to Shopify, revenue, Conversion rate dropping 10% month over month with these numbers, I wouldn't say is too crazy, thing to keep an eye on, but I mean, when you're below the 5% conversion rate mark, you know, moving 0.5% is what, 10%? So I wouldn't worry too much about that. Transactions, this is something that you never want to see on a store that we're trying to grow. This is something you always want to see, or value increasing. Order coupon codes and affiliations, things of that nature. If you have anything like that, tracking that back into here does make it easier to take a look at. So there are multiple reports that come with the e-commerce tab. Shopping behavior, for whatever reason, in this report doesn't look accurate. This isn't set up properly. Yeah, no, the integration with Shopify Analytics is not set up properly on this account. Main thing is that you would be able to see what people are doing on the general sense with the e-commerce events. So session is an event, product view is an event. Someone goes to your homepage, they don't view a specific product, or they go to a collection, they don't view a specific product, you're not gonna get a hit here. Product views are product views, not collection views or homepage views or blog views or any of that. Add to cart, self-explanatory, checkout, transactions, of course. But the main thing here is that you should be seeing this populated with data. The fact that it's not is not great. So we're tracking product performance, but we're not tracking the actual shopping behavior. So the reports are missing data. This looks like it's by SKU. Google doesn't always make it easy to look at the data, just so you know. As you can see here, tracking the actual promotions through analytics in your Shopify site will be easy once integrated properly, but that would probably be the major thing, is just getting the tracking set up properly and getting some of these things filled out, like the goals and the event tracking, and getting that ironed out. It's really gonna make the biggest difference, because at the end of the day, if you're looking at the reports and they're not filled with information that you need to make decisions, what value is that report bringing to you? And I would say that more than 50%, I would say, I mean, that's a very generous number. I'd say probably like 90% of companies that I came across with for their analytics platform are missing tracking setup. So it's not like what you have here is bad. This is honestly more than what some people have that have been doing this for a lot longer. It's really a matter of knowing that these are the things that need to get set up and what you should be looking at. Because that's another thing too, is that if you've never seen this set up before, what's the real expectation of you knowing to set it up? So at the end of the day, the main takeaways from this is getting this GA Universal account set up properly, getting Google Analytics 4 set up properly, getting the events set up in them, and having some key metrics to look at. So making sure that you're looking at the actual e-commerce flow, and then also using the data to pick the right marketing targets and right things to optimize towards. And just using that data in general to make sure that when you spend the ad budget, it's done in the right regions and done with the right audiences. And if you are doing any type of remarketing or promotion, tracking that on the individual product pages, but not just that, but like where the product pages are leading to. Is it leading to more sales? Was the promotion that you paid for worth it? And those are the types of things you want to track through analytics. All right, well, that's pretty much the overview of the individual tabs that you see here. I would highly recommend having this video handy when you want to go into analytics and just going through with this video button by button and just seeing what you have. And as far as questions about setup and everything go, that's just a part of the tracking service that we do with everything that we work on. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Michael Ensor, advertisingreportcard.com, signing out.